Welcome back. New this morning, following President Trump's trip to China, the entire American delegation reportedly disposed of every item gifted to them or provided to them by Chinese officials before they got back on Air Force One. The New York Post White House correspondent Emily Gooden posted on X, American staff took everything Chinese officials handed out. Credentials, burner phones from White House staff, pins for delegation, collected them before we got on Air Force One and threw them in a bin at the bottom of the stairs. Nothing from China allowed on the plane at all. Joining me now is the Gatestone Institute senior fellow, Gordon Chang, talking about the trip. Gordon, good to see you. I want to get your take on the trip overall, but interesting to see that they weren't allowed to take anything back on Air Force One. They're obviously worried that everything is a surveillance item.
Yes, and this was not paranoia. I mean, this was just prudence, because we know what the Chinese have done in the past with things that they have given to foreign delegations, especially electronic items. So this was a good measure that the U.S. took. You know, on the trip as a whole.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, on the trip as a whole, you know, most China-U.S. summits are planned in advance. Everything is settled before the leader gets on the plane. This one wasn't. So give President Trump a lot of credit for rolling the dice on foreign soil. We're going to have to wait for some time to see how this actually turns out. But what we did see was Chinese arrogance, especially Xi Jinping with his references to new era, Thucydides' trap. This is a very arrogant China, and I think it's because they know they've got some problems, and they're just putting up a front.
Well, I mean, you know, I think President Trump came home with some deliverables for sure, but Xi Jinping tried to run the table from the get-go by bringing up Taiwan and saying if the Taiwan issue is handled, is not managed correctly, it will lead to conflict, quote-unquote conflict, quote-unquote a dangerous situation between the U.S. and China. And then there was this other issue. When you look at the two chairs here, look at these two chairs. Xi Jinping is sitting up. It looks like his chair is higher than President Trump's chair, by the way. And there was a lot made about this, that President Trump, his chair was lower, and it appeared to make Xi Jinping taller than Trump, even though Trump is so much taller than Xi Jinping. What do you make? Do you see a difference in the chairs here? Was that by design?
Oh, that certainly was by design. And this was meant to humiliate President Trump. You know, the one thing I think that's important here is that Trump showed a lot of restraint, not only at those very corrosive comments on Thursday from Xi Jinping, but also this chair business, which is just silly. But I think at some point, President Trump will hit back because he will get even for what was intended as a humiliation.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm sure of it. Look, I mean, the president came home with a promise for the Chinese to buy soybeans, a promise from the Chinese to buy jets from Boeing, and they talked about the potential of the Chinese buying oil from the U.S. Now, I know the U.S. and China agreed to establish this trade council for further discussions to create more balanced trade after China said it would purchase 200 Boeing airplanes, engines from General Electric, and expand agricultural trade. Gordon, what about this issue over buying oil? I wonder if it actually materialized. Current tariffs on Chinese exports hovering around 50%, covering all goods. President Trump did not say he was changing that in any way. What's your take on what the U.S. got out of this trip?
Yeah, well, first of all, Trump didn't make concessions, which is important. And the Chinese do need oil. They're not getting 40 to 50% of their imports of seaborne oil coming through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, they can make up for it by increased purchases from others, but they do need U.S. energy. But we do know, Maria, that they don't want to buy it from us. And we know that because before the war started, they were actually taking cargoes that they had committed to purchase of LNG and then diverting them to Europe. So, you know, I think they'll be forced to take U.S. energy just because they need it.
Yeah, well, I believe President Trump told Brett or Hannity that while in China that they were sending ships, Chinese ships, to Louisiana and Texas. So we'll see about that. That would mean that China has to pay top dollar for oil, market prices for oil, because they'll be using the dollar, as opposed to getting it for under market prices from Iran using the yuan. Look, Gordon, Iran obviously top of the agenda during that summit. And here's what the president said that the U.S. and Beijing agreed upon in that regard. Watch.
We talked about Iran a lot, and I think we have a very good understanding with both. I have a lot of respect for him. On Iran, it's very interesting. He feels strongly they can't have a nuclear weapon. He said that very strongly. They cannot have a nuclear weapon, and he wants them to open up the strait. But as he said, they closed it, and then you closed them with a smile. And it's true. We control the strait. And they've done no business, literally they've done no business in the last 2.5 weeks, which is approximately $500 million a day. So we're doing very well on all fronts.
It comes as Iranian forces reportedly seized a Chinese-owned security ship near the Strait of Hormuz. Gordon, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, President Trump was absolutely right before he left on the trip. He said, I don't need China's help, and he certainly doesn't. What he would like is for China to stay out of the way. Now, we have now heard within the last 20 days, 25 days, two promises from China that they will not supply weapons or dual-use items. They made the first one, we heard the first one on April 15th, and now this one. I hope that China complies. President Trump has the power to make China comply. And so I'm sure the president is going to do that. You know, with regard to Iran, we got to remember that Iran has a nuclear weapons program because China supplied the equipment, the materials, and the technology, both directly and indirectly through Pakistan. President Trump, I'm sure, knows that. And this is going to be quite interesting to see how Trump handles Xi Jinping on this, because the Chinese are just not telling him the truth when they say they don't want Iran to have a weapon. Iran has or is close to a weapon because of China.
Yeah, it's all great points. Like the president told me first that, you know, they exchanged those letters. President Trump sent Xi Jinping a letter saying, you know, don't supply components or weapons to Iran, and then sent a letter back saying we're not. But all of the other reports that we see contradict that. Top White House officials are reportedly now worried that China may target Taiwan in the coming 5 years. Taiwan reaffirmed its independence from China. But President Trump is not taking sides. He certainly walked a balance on this issue. Watch this.
What did President Xi say to you about Taiwan? And are you still going to approve the arms sale?
So President Xi and I talked a lot about Taiwan. He thinks they cannot have anything to do with what they're doing. I mean, he's, you know, against very much what they're doing. On Taiwan, he does not want to see a fight for independence because that would be a very strong confrontation. And I heard him out.
Are you going to say your word?
No, I didn't make a comment on it.
About the arms sales to Taiwan?
I'll make a determination over the next fairly short period.
So we've got this arms sale to Taiwan now hanging in the balance, Gordon. And, you know, the president could say, look, we're not going to get involved in a Taiwan-China issue. But at the end of the day, Taiwan produces 90+% of all advanced semiconductor chips in the world. We need those chips for our military. So whether you like it or not, the U.S. is involved. I mean, the U.S. is legally bound to provide Taiwan with a means of self-defense, right? Xi Jinping reportedly warning the president that this will lead to bad things, a dangerous place if this is mishandled.
Well, Xi Jinping right now is bluffing because he's decimated his military with those purges that we've been talking about. So his military is not capable of launching hostilities with an invasion of the main island of Taiwan. These arms sales are important now because China can't really do anything. It's the time to make those arms sales, and that enhances deterrence. But more important, in a sense, it encourages our allies because they see Taiwan as a key test of credibility and resolve. So that, for instance, would hearten Japan, which is absolutely critical. So, you know, Taiwan is not only a source of semiconductors, it also prevents the Chinese Navy and Air Force from surging into the Pacific because we don't want them off our coasts. So there's a lot of reasons why Taiwan is critical to the defense of the United States, apart from semiconductors.
All really important points. We're going to be watching that arms sales. It will tell us a lot about where the president is right now after that trip. Gordon, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Gordon Chang. We'll be right back. Stay with us.